XR7 Cougar convertible for your summer enjoyment. All you have to do is stop by the used car market and enter to win. Now do you believe you have an uncle in the car business? That's the used car market.
Meet A.J. Quartermain from General Hospital Monday at 9.
Inside Ted Kaczynski's cabin, the FBI says it has found the original copy of the Unabomber manuscript. Jessica Dubroff's last flight, the weather was so bad in Cheyenne, she needed special clearance to take off. And more American cars to Japan. The man who gets the credit from the president gets a promotion.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with what the FBI describes as extraordinarily damaging evidence against the Unabomber suspect Theodore Kaczynski. ABC's Brian Ross has confirmed information initially reported by U.S. News and World Report today, that evidence has been discovered which, through his own words, directly connects Mr. Kaczynski to the bombing campaign.
Federal authorities told ABC News tonight that the original of the Unabomber's manifesto, letters to the New York Times claiming responsibility for the bombings, and a third typewriter were all found in the loft of Kaczynski's tiny mountain cabin, discovered this Wednesday, the 7th day of the FBI's painstaking search. Authorities also told us that the FBI lab has already matched the typewriter to the Unabomber's manifesto, evidence at least as significant as certain bomb-making tools and devices which have been linked to the Unabomber's bombs. A copy of the 35,000-word manifesto had been sent last August to the New York Times, which, along with the Washington Post, and at the urging of the FBI, agreed to publish the document. It was the publication of the manifesto which reportedly led David Kaczynski and his mother, who were questioned today in Washington by defense lawyers, to suspect Theodore was the Unabomber. The document is a rambling philosophical assault on modern society and technology, the apparent basis for the Unabomber's 17-year-long campaign of terror. And in a letter accompanying the manifesto, the Unabomber took credit for the murder of New Jersey executive Thomas Moser and said, quote, "Through our bombings, we hope to promote social instability." For prosecutors preparing to present their case against Kaczynski to a federal grand jury next week, the newly discovered documents, the typewriter that typed them, along with certain bomb-making tools and devices, all add up to an increasingly strong and compelling case. Brian Ross, ABC News, New York.
There has been a package bomb in Florida today not related to the Unabomber. The package was left in front of a suburban home in Fort Lauderdale. When the woman it was addressed to opened the package exploded, she died. Her 2 children and their playmate were injured. Police say the mother was a target, and they are looking for her ex-husband, whom they would like to question. In Wyoming, the day after Jessica Dubroff's airplane crashed, more questions about the decision to take off, tighter focus on the judgment of the adults. ABC's Tom Foreman is in Greeley, Colorado, where the wreckage has been moved.
In a hangar 1 hour south of the place where Jessica's plane went down, federal investigators unloaded the wreckage. Jessica's red booster seat and pilot's headphones were clearly visible. What is increasingly unclear, however, is how much judgment her flight instructor exercised when he decided to take off. ABC News has learned that weather conditions were so bad, Jessica's flight instructor, Joe Reed, had to request special clearance from air traffic control. Special clearance is normally sought by pilots who are confident they can quickly climb through a small area of bad weather to safer skies.
You've got a Cessna 177, and you've got a 7-year-old girl who's trying to fly it. This is sheer idiocy.
Today, as Jessica's mother visited the site where her daughter died, she defended at length the rights of children to be treated exactly like adults, and said she would personally ask the FAA to keep allowing kids to pilot airplanes.
I can't bear the thought of them changing anything. You talk about setting people back. Talk to the children who fly. Children are fearless.
Investigators say it may take a half year to piece together all of the things that contributed to this crash, and even then there may still be some mysteries. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Greeley, Colorado.
News about another crash at an earlier point. The Navy has formally concluded today that what was widely speculated 3 months ago when an F-14 Tomcat crashed in Nashville, Tennessee. Pilot error. An animation released by the Pentagon today shows the pilot making a nearly vertical takeoff and losing his bearings in the clouds, apparently thinking the Tomcat was going up, when in fact it was going down. The two-man crew and 3 people on the ground all died. The U.S. Naval Academy has had a very bad week. In a moment, the indictments. Trying to understand the so-called Freemen of Montana, the ideology they call Christian identity. And our Person of the Week, a spiritual pit stop.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Tylenol.
Honey, are you okay?
I'm fine. Relax. It's not broken. The doctor said I was pretty lucky.
Does it hurt? What'd they give you?
Tylenol. Extra strength.
Really?
Yeah.
With everything they have here?
The Tylenol is working great. Let's go home.
More than aspirin, more than ibuprofen. In hospitals, emergency room doctors use Tylenol the most.
You sure you're okay?
I'll be fine. But we should talk about the car.
Good morning.
How was the couch, okay?
Oh, it was great. Complete bran flakes. No bacon and eggs.
You want me to make you some?
No, it's all right. No, it's all right.
She'll make it for you if you want to.
I'll make it.
I see. Somebody's birthday's coming up.
Hey, I realized I eat lousy. I don't work out. I had to do something.
Thousands of people have started turning their lives around with 4 little words. Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes.
Are you eating this just to humor me?
No, I just don't want to start looking like you.
Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes. It's a start.
At the U.S. Naval Academy, it appears to be a case of a few bad men. Today in Maryland, a midshipman was dismissed from the Navy and sentenced to 20 months in prison for marijuana use and the sale of LSD. He is one of 5 midshipmen convicted on illegal drug charges, and it is one of a growing number of scandals haunting the Academy. Here's ABC's David Ensor.
This is the public image the Naval Academy likes to present. Instead, the school is facing a broadside of bad publicity about criminal behavior. Today, it was the sentencing of the midshipmen for selling and using illegal drugs. Yesterday, it was the indictment of 5 present and former midshipmen charged with selling stolen cars. Last week, the Academy's 3rd-ranking midshipman was imprisoned after physically threatening one of 4 female classmates who have accused him of sexual assault. Another midshipman was charged this week with sexually abusing a 2-year-old. The Academy's problems need to be addressed, and soon, says the Navy's top man at the Pentagon.
Bad. How could I say anything else?
Compounding the headaches for the Academy leadership is James Barry, one of their own professors, who recently wrote in the Washington Post that despite the appearance of rigid discipline and high standards, the Academy has developed, quote, a culture of hypocrisy, one that tolerates sexual harassment, favoritism, and the covering up of problems.
We can publish here what the rules are, but then there's an informal set of rules that people live by. And the informal set of rules in the Navy say loyalty over truth.
Privately, several female midshipmen tell ABC News a key problem for them is sexual harassment, which they say is common. One complained that a rape charge made 2 years ago has led only to the victim who reported it being treated as a problem. The Academy's superintendent says the school is not immune to society's problems.
There's more of an attitude out there in society now that it's okay if you get away with it.
What worries Navy officials is that the Academy is supposed to be different because one day its students will be in command. David Ensor, ABC News, Annapolis.
In Montana, 2 members of the Freemen who surrendered to the FBI yesterday were arraigned today. Ebert Stanton and his mother Agnes pleaded not guilty to 51 counts of conspiracy and fraud. Ebert, who's also charged with armed robbery and threatening public officials, has been ordered held in prison. His mother was released, but she will remain under house arrest. ABC's Jack Smith has more on the Freemen tonight and a measure of the extremism that drives them.
When Agnes and Ebert Stanton gave themselves up, that brought to 4 the number of people who voluntarily left the ranch in less than a week. Evidence that so far the FBI's low-keyed approach here is paying off.
But there are still about 20 people out at the ranch, including a hard core of extremists held together by a potent ideology of white supremacy common to many hate groups, some of them here in the West.
One of the most outspoken Freemen in the compound is Rodney Skirdal, a former Marine who has written extensively about what's called the doctrine of Christian identity. The doctrine holds that Jews and blacks are inferior. It is the colored people and the Jews, writes Skirdal, who are the descendants of Cain, and when we move into a new land, we are to kill the inhabitants of all the other races. According to Christian identity doctrine, the descendants of Northern Europeans are the real children of Israel. And since the land belongs to them, they don't have to pay taxes and the government can't foreclose on their property.
They are the chosen people of the Lord. The promises given to Israel in the Bible are the promises given to white people.
Local pastors have had extensive run-ins with Skirdal and other freemen.
What's driving them and the lens through which they see all of life is informed by their Christian identity beliefs, which has actually nothing Christian about it.
Virtually all of the people of Jordan reject Christian identity. Pastor Helen Young visited the freemen just before the standoff began.
See the strength of their convictions. It almost panicked me.
And some here believe the virulence of those convictions makes it unlikely that in the end, everyone inside Justice Township will leave peacefully. Jack Smith, ABC News, Jordan, Montana.
Elsewhere in the country, it has been a banner day in Washington for history buffs. The estate of former President Richard Nixon has now agreed to release nearly all the secret tape recordings made at the White House during his presidency, and that is almost 4,000 hours. Until now, only 63 hours of the tapes have been publicly available. The first of the new batch, many of them relating to the Watergate scandal, will be out in the fall. The military campaign in the Middle East has escalated again. Right after this, today's controversial targets.
Weeding again, eh, Bob? Huh? Why not do it once, do it right?
Why's your head in the ground?
I'm going to watch Roundup kill these roots.
Hey, this is Spike's area.
Bob, Roundup can be used where kids and pets will play and breaks down into natural materials. Since Roundup kills the root, what's not coming back, Bob?
The weed?
You betcha, Bob. Come on down and take a peek.
Can I square one?
Sure, Bob.
I just wasn't satisfied with how my arthritis pain medicine was working. Then my doctor told me about Arutis.
82% of doctors surveyed have prescribed Arutis, and now it's available in a non-prescription strength. Potent new Arutis KT. Just 25 milligrams is as effective as 400 milligrams of Motrin IV, 440 of Aleve, or 1,000 milligrams of extra-strength Tylenol.
Now for my minor arthritis pain, I've got Arutis KT.
New Arutis KT, the potent medicine for pain.
Let's see. Now available. New communications company with some experience. They invented dial tone, also phone, transistor, laser, cellular. Has won awards, Nobel, etc. Formerly part of AT&T, now Lucent Technologies. We make the things that make communications work.
I'm lucky. I landed in the perfect place. My sister and I grew up here. My house, it holds all my memories. I had my practice here and raised my family here. But now there's so much I want to do, and I want to do it here.
Things don't have to change. Ask a Merrill Lynch financial consultant who can help with the plan and more ways to make the plan work than anyone else. The difference is planning. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
Tonight, over and over and over again, a radical head operation performed on infants.
So much of his life was stripped from him because of all of this.
Some may not have even needed it. Could this have happened? 2020 tonight.
In the Middle East today, it was a case of civilians on the run again in northern Israel and several regions of Lebanon. They're trying to get out of the way as the Israeli military and the Islamic movement Hezbollah, the Party of God, intensified their attacks against one another. Here's ABC's Bill Redick.
The day began with chaos in northern Israel. A Katyusha rocket fired by Hezbollah slammed into an Israeli town. The civilian driver of this car suffered critical head and stomach wounds.
If they thought that the Katyusha is a superior weapon, well, we have had to remind them that we have missiles that are better than the Katyusha.
Israeli artillery units helped escalate the conflict by firing shells into an area of southern Lebanon that is home not only to Hezbollah guerrillas, but also thousands of Lebanese civilians from at least 45 villages and towns. In the southern coastal cities of Lebanon, panic as frightened civilians fled the Israeli onslaught. Most had been warned earlier to evacuate. The Israeli military claimed it hit 13 Hezbollah targets. Lebanese security sources said 8 civilians were killed. In the campaign to destroy Hezbollah's infrastructure, its ammunition warehouses and training bases, the Israeli Army and Air Force hit other targets today, too, including a Syrian anti-aircraft position, wounding a dozen soldiers and civilians.
I think they attacked the Syrian army willingly. They know what they are doing.
Israeli Air Force officers who displayed this gun camera video said the Syrians fired first and repeatedly. The Israelis say only then did they retaliate by launching a missile at the anti-aircraft bunker. Late today, as Israel moved more men and machines to the north, there was concern that the campaign to destroy Hezbollah could spill over and provoke the Syrians, Israel's most formidable foe in the Middle East. Bill Redeker, ABC News, on the Israeli-Lebanese border.
Still overseas in Liberia today, news of an American official who went beyond the call of duty. John Fries is a security officer at the U.S. Embassy in Liberia when he heard that 200 foreigners were trapped in a suburb of Liberia's capital, Monrovia. He organized a convoy, made the dangerous drive through the chaotic streets, and got everyone back to the U.S. Embassy safely. Well, look who's in the driver's seat now. A surprising American takeover of a Japanese company in our next segment.
Don't forget, Gracie, this one is a par 5.
Oh, dear, I better give it all I've got.
O'Doul's Scratch Golf. Win any of 21,000 prizes instantly in 12-pack cans of O'Doul's.
I want a tailor-made burner bubble.
Yeah?
Yeah, you need it. You drive like an old lady. Thanks.
Hey, I really spanked that one.
The new Civic from Honda. More powerful, more refined, more responsive. And yes, it's bigger.
We're in for a hot summer. Very soft but sweet, no mercy from the heat.
When onion skins are thin, weather's warm coming in.
Flies come in for shelter. Summer days will swelter.
No matter the forecast, for years, folks have trusted their heating and cooling to the company founded by Dave Lennox.
I always say it's best to be prepared.
Because, like Lennox dealers today, Dave provided the best in home comfort.
That didn't rhyme.
If not poetry. Lennox, one last thing to worry about.
All right, we're going low-fat, fresh turkey, lettuce, tomato on wheat.
What? No Best Foods.
Now you can eat low-fat and still have great taste with Best Foods low-fat mayonnaise dressing. It tastes so delicious you won't believe it has only 1 gram of fat.
What? No Best Foods?
Best Foods low-fat mayonnaise dressing.
Bring out the best foods and bring out the best.
In Washington today, life does go on. President Clinton has chosen a successor to Ron Brown as Secretary of Commerce. He is the U.S. Trade Representative, Mickey Cantor.
He and Ron Brown used to joke, you know, that they were the Alphonse and Gaston of our economic team. Mickey was the bad cop, Ron was the good cop. I thought we ought to give him a chance to be a good cop for a change.
We stood shoulder to shoulder to make sure we grew jobs and raised standards of living.
Shoulder to shoulder, he means with Ron Brown. It was Mr. Cantor who negotiated a deal with the Japanese government last summer, opening the Japanese market to more American cars and car parts, and the White House is taking the credit for that success. U.S. auto exports to Japan have gone up 35% since then. Another important development today involving the U.S. and the Japanese auto industry. Ford is going to assume effective control of the Japanese car company Mazda. Ford will increase its financial stake from 1/4 to 1/3, and a Ford executive will assume the top job. In Tokyo tonight, ABC's Mark Litke.
Japan's fifth largest automaker has been in deep financial trouble for several years, but few could have imagined it would be taken over by Americans. At company headquarters today, the Ford executive, he's from Scotland, who will soon be Mazda's president, predicted the company would grow and strengthen.
So I think we've got some positives and negatives, but in total, it should be good news as we go into the 21st century.
The current head of Mazda said there was no other choice.
We wouldn't have made it to the 21st century if we didn't take action now.
In fact, Ford has owned a major share of Mazda for 17 years, manufacturing some Ford models at Mazda plants here and selling them in some Mazda dealerships. But now, Ford will have greater control over both production and all 2,600 Mazda showrooms, the strongest foothold an American automaker has ever had in Japan. At Mazda plants today, workers took the news calmly, saying they understood the need for the move, but they hoped there would be no mass layoffs, so common in America. The government here also hopes Ford will stick to Japan's system of lifetime employment, saving Mazda's 27,000 workers. Though analysts here seem convinced the new arrangement will help both Mazda and Ford, news coverage today revealed a deep-seated anxiety over the long-term implications for Japan. The one question asked over and over, will American companies now start taking over ailing Japanese firms the way the Japanese took over so many American companies in the past decade? Clearly, many Japanese are uncomfortable with even the thought of that. Mark Litke, ABC News, Tokyo.
There was a small but important step today designed to reduce the anti-American sentiment on the Japanese island of Okinawa. In an agreement announced live on Japanese television by Ambassador Walter Mondale, the U.S. will shut down one of the 40 bases on Okinawa over the next 7 years. It is not the largest base, but its location has been a particular irritant, being in the middle of a heavily populated area with several schools nearby. On Wall Street today, 4 losing days, or rather after 4 losing days, the industrials finally closed up more than 45 points, 55.32, and on the NASDAQ market, stocks gained nearly 4 points. Our person of the week in a moment, the Racer's Edge.
Once there were only 2 guarantees in life, death and taxes. I can help you with the taxes, and now I can tell you about a 3rd guarantee, the 100% satisfaction guarantee at Comfort Inns and Suites. If your room isn't right, they'll make it right, or the night's on them. That's right, a refund.
For Comfort Satisfaction Guarantee and free continental breakfast, call 1-800-228-5150.
In this case, I can't offer to come with you. Darn it.
To really freshen your breath, give it both barrels. Mentadent mouthwash and new Cool Mint. Baking soda and peroxide combine, creating surging bubbles you can feel. Mentadent mouthwash. Freshen your breath all the way to clean.
This evergreen didn't have to die. Just a few cents worth of Miracid could have saved it. When evergreens turn sickly yellow, they need more than just fertilizer. They need Miracid. Miracid feeds, ironizes, acidifies to help restore vigor and beauty.
If you're up early enough to have the road to yourself, driving can actually be fun.
My hot rod days are over, but I'm still more likely to pass than to be passed.
Sometimes on the weekends, my husband and I just like to kind of take off and lose ourselves in the beautiful scenery. If he's driving, left, west. That way. I'm not. That's very easy.
Honey! Ford Contour, a world car for your world. Well equipped for just $15,190.
I'm Jeff Gianola. News of the Northwest is next. The state is spending $40 million of your tax dollars on these signs, but will they make your commute easier? And there's a promise of sunshine for the weekend forecast, and much more at 6:30 next.
Finally from us this evening, our person of the week. He brings to mind the old wartime saying, there is no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. In other words, people exposed to particularly dangerous situations generally need some spiritual reassurance. In this particular case, it is a ministry on the move.
You find yourself always dealing with the unknown factor that anybody could be seriously hurt at any time. And you pray all the time that it's a safe race. Hey, how you doing, Gene? Good to see you. Who's the fastest so far?
Father Phil DeRay, bringing comfort and the Word of God to a place where it's almost impossible to hear anything.
to give you a blessing, okay?
But they are listening.
Thank you.
In Long Beach, California today, where they are getting ready for Sunday's race, the official priest of the Indy race circuit has arrived to tend what must be the fastest flock in the world.
They're not the run-of-the-mill, standard, everyday, Sunday-going Christian, let's say, or Catholic. They're people who look at their faith from a different viewpoint. I never care who wins. I'm more concerned about that everybody has a safe race.
But racing, as we all know well, can be a very dangerous sport. And while that is what draws most of the crowd, it is surely what draws Father Phil DeRay. He deals with the spiritual needs of the people who live on the edge.
Bless us and protect Bobby and all our drivers. Amen.
Debbie Rahal has watched her Indy 500 winning husband, Bobby, have some very close calls.
He comes up and he just sort of blesses Bobby's car and says a prayer with me and whatnot and gives me a hug, and it just kind of gives me a calm feeling.
As for Bob Rahal himself,
if I met him 40 years ago, I'd be a Catholic today.
The drivers, the pit crews, and the 2,500 who travel with the Indy Caravan all know him as Father Phil. He baptizes their children, performs marriages, all the things you would expect from any Roman Catholic priest, except that this parish is always on the move. 17 cities from March to September.
We don't have to be stuck in a structure of a building, of a church, of a strict parish environment. We've got to be flexible.
It has been a flexible life. Father Philip DeRay was born in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. That is also where the driver, Mario Andretti, comes from, and they knew each other long ago. Father Phil loved fast cars and dreamed of racing until he joined the church. Instead, it was overseas to work in missions around the world where he worked with the poorest of the poor. When he returned to the U.S. in 1981, Father Phil found he was still fascinated with racing, and the Indy racing circuit was glad to have him. So was Mario Andretti.
Back in '92, when my son Jeff and myself were injured, Jeff critically with his legs almost destroyed, and it was a black day for us, and the family just really needed that uplift, and Father Phil, always there.
At Trackside, they say it is like family. He knows them all. He married Emerson and Teresa Fittipaldi.
And then Father Phil say, well, how about getting married at the Vatican? I say, why not? I mean, that's magic.
There is more to Father Phil's mission than the track. He is the national director of the Missionary Vehicle Association. His organization raises money to buy vehicles for hospitals and schools in the developing world, and most of what he raises comes from racing enthusiasts. One of them is Paul Newman.
He truly is the most human representative of the church I think I've ever met.
In the off-season, Father Phil goes back overseas to the missions. And then in the spring, the call of the racetrack gets strong again.
Today we ask for special blessing and protection on all our drivers in today's various races.
One of the secrets, they say, is to keep the sermon short.
We're in Indy. We're not here to drag it out. We're here to make it fast and to the point. And that's what it's all about.
And so we choose Father Phil DeRay, who reminds us on a secular matter that while the races on the Indy circuit are getting faster, more than 230 miles an hour is not uncommon now, they're actually becoming safer. The high speeds discourage all but the best drivers. Safer races, what Father Phil has always prayed for. That is our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening on 2020, radical surgery performed on many infants that may not have been necessary. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good weekend. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Marcia Cross, her most powerful role.
You're pregnant.
It was everything she hoped for. The one